Back up on me. So, today is July 8th, 2026. It's 9 a.m. It's Wednesday. We are at the Mountains View City Hall Council Chambers for the Rice Creek Watershed District Board of Managers regular meeting agenda. The record reflects that all managers are present along with our excellent staff. First on the agenda is the open mic public comment, which will not apply to you. Any Rice Creek Watershed District resident may address the board in his or her individual capacity for up to 3 minutes on any matter not on the agenda. Speakers are requested to come to the podium, state their name and address the record. Additional comments may be solicited and accepted in writing. Generally, the Board of Managers will not take official action on items discussed at this time, but may refer the matter to staff for a future report or direct the matter be scheduled for an upcoming agenda. I would like the record reflect that all our staff and 2 people here to support item number 1 on our agenda are here, so I think we can move on to setting the agenda. Any changes to the agenda?
Staff have no proposed changes.
Any proposed agenda changes by, if not, can I have a motion to set the agenda?
So moved. Second.
All in favor of the agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So, Secretary, would you assist us with the minutes?
Yes, I surely will. So I would move to approve the minutes of the June 22nd Rice Creek Board of Managers Workshop with one minor correction, and that is on line 17. In parentheses, it says post-2008. I believe it's meant to be post-2020. And that's the only change I have.
So I will second your motion to approve them with that one change. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed?
And then I would move to approve the minutes of the June 24th, 2026 regular meeting of the Rice Creek Board of Managers with the following changes. Under open mic public comment, I think there needs to be a sentence to note that there were no public comments added. And I have, this is more of a question, perhaps for those of you who are parliamentarians. On page 10, the motion that was made by Manager Waller, I believe this is actually what he said, but I think it doesn't reflect what the intent of our motion was, which was very nicely stated by our attorney, John Kolb. I would like to see this read, the additional language, so I'm on line 141, the additional language that acknowledges the concerns that have been expressed by the landowners and the representations that have been made by the developer today, because that is really what we wanted added as a comment. And I don't want to change the words that were spoken by Manager Bradley, but I would like to have that clarified. So however we can do that appropriately, I would love to see that happen.
President Bradley, Manager Hegland, perhaps you could read again what you suggested
Yes.
for the team?
So I actually watched the video last night and wrote down exactly what Attorney Kolb said, which when he said it, it's like, oh yes, that's exactly what we want. But then many minutes went by between that and when the motion was made. So what he said was that we would, the additional language that, and then this is the new addition, acknowledges the concerns that have been expressed by the landowners and the representations that have been made by the developer today.
I'll second that.
I have one.
Oh, you got another one.
I have one more change,
Sure.
and this is on line 175. It says that this is Nick. He noted that the district was working towards being ADA compliant. I believe he did say that, but I believe he referenced in before that memo that was sent out by Kendra, and she was referring to the website. So I just wanted to add that the district's website is ADA compliant. Otherwise, it looks like the whole district is not.
So you would add after, he noted that the district was working
Towards the district's website being ADA compliant.
Yeah. Good.
So with those changes, I would move to approve the minutes as written.
I will second it with those changes. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to acknowledge the good work that our secretary does in reviewing these minutes, so thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes. Okay. Patrick, you're up.
Good morning, President Bradley, Board of Managers. Staff have 2 permit applications on the consent agenda today, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions of Patrick? Not going to have a motion, please.
So this is Janet. I would move to approve the consent agenda as outlined in the table of contents, as this would be for number 25-056 and 26-051. In accordance with the Rice Creek Watershed District engineers' findings and recommendations dated June 29th, 2026.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that brings us to item 1, I believe, which is Anoka Ramsey Judicial District Number 1 Repair Report, Scope of Services. So we happen to have 2 representatives of Anoka County. Is it Anoka or Ramsey?
Right.
Ramsey County. Sorry,
Nope.
My apologies. Ramsey. Acknowledge you. And why don't you go ahead and, I understand you have just a few opening comments you'd like to make to us.
Just an introduction.
Yeah.
Sure. Hi, I'm Emma Mackey. I'm the stormwater technician for the city.
Pete Zurich, Public Works Superintendent, for the City of Mounds View. And just representing, be here for representing the City of Mounds View, just here for any questions that Rice Creek might have. City is in favor of getting this work done on Judicial Ditch 1. Hopeful. So, thank you.
Anyone have any questions?
I also have one more comment to make. We actually received about $150,000 with the DNR relief grant, and $5,000 of those dollars are to support this project in education and outreach with the city residents and all that information going out there. So, yeah.
The more outreach we can do, the better
Yes,
these projects go.
exactly. Yep.
So we appreciate that.
Mr. President, I'd ask the representatives if they feel that the work will be adequate or better, or what, you know, I think it's going to, the proposed work for you to be done is going to work for you?
I believe so in the preliminary plans that we've looked at. We're in favor of getting the.
I hear you're in favor, but I just wanted to know
Yeah.
if it was, it's going to do the job for you, or if you thought maybe there
I think
needed to
it
be a
would.
little more, or.
I believe it would. I know it would, and a section that's near Greenfield Park in Mounds View in particular.
Okay.
It would drastically help that whole area.
I'm all in
It's
favor of
whole-
drainage and make sure that we have enough of it.
Mhm. Yeah, desperate over there.
Nick, you have a comment?
Sure. President Bradley, Board of Managers, beyond some opening context, I would just share that I did speak with our guests this morning, as well as Niall Zigman, the administrator for the City of Mounds View. He supports the district moving forward with the repair of the system. He noted the city's investment of nearing $1 million to maintain their stormwater facilities, and obviously they have connection with the public drainage system. If the ditch doesn't work, their system doesn't work. So I offer that. I think Chris may have a comment, but I do have some opening statement if the board wants to entertain that, get the,
I think we can let them sit down, though.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Glad you're here.
Appreciate it. Always nice.
Yeah, so just as background to our audience and to the board, certainly, the board is considering a change in the scope of services for Houston Engineering. This is for the Anoka Ramsey Judicial Ditch 1 repair report. Houston is currently working on the repair report under a task order 25-016. The board approved that in September of 10th of 2025. Task order included a summary of the regulatory requirements and identified further work in the arena to be outside of the scope of that task order. Houston has determined that the work, in its work, that there's a high likelihood of T&E species to be threatened and endangered species to be present in the work corridor. That requires additional regulatory work for the district to be in compliance. The change in scope of services will allow Houston to engage and identify those species, their presence. And I'll just note that the district successfully navigated this in the past. We've run into the state's T&E species statute in the past and its governing rules. And it does not allow the district to take without permit those species. So staff recommend the Board of Managers approve the change in the scope of services. Certainly happy to entertain any questions. There's a motion on page 30.
Any questions of Nick?
Nick, I'm referring to the map that you have on page 39. Is this branch 2 the branch that goes under the building?
Yes, it is.
Ooh.
It's about President Bradley, Board of Managers. I'll let Chris answer that, and I know he had another comment as well.
Sure. It's branch 2, lateral 1 that is the one that goes underneath the building.
Oh, on the east side of 35.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it goes underneath a building owned and operated by T-Force Freight.
Is that a trucking company?
Yes.
Yes. Under the building.
Great planning.
We've talked about that one a couple
Yes,
times.
we have a couple times.
And now we know. Okay.
Chris, I understand you have more for us. Go ahead.
I guess maybe the one thing I'll note here is that the cost that's provided here by Critical Connections is a not to exceed cost. It has a stated number of deliverables that includes basically a report to get us to the point of being able to be ready for construction on this and to have all the information we need to provide avoidance as necessary along the drainage system. And then I think the other thing I was just going to mention too, before regarding our communication with the city, we did have a meeting with the city of Mounds View last month, and as they had noted, they have a set of draft plans in hand that they're looking at reviewing, and we're going through with them, and we definitely are very interested in making sure that everything that we are doing there is going to work within the city. There's it's on city portions of city property, and there are a couple of city-owned culverts that we're going to be dealing with addressing.
So, Mr. Chair, the survey is for the entire ditch system, or is there a particular area that we think is?
Correct. It's for the entire ditch system. Based on how Jason has done this in the past, he does an initial survey where he looks at what is the potential for these species to exist in the various areas of the system. And once he narrows that down, then later in the year he can go back and look for developed species within that area, that narrower area. So he's trying to be as efficient as possible, starting big, working his way to a narrower and narrower area until he's at the individual level. These are the areas that we need to avoid, or these are the areas that are exempt from the statute.
But as I understand the analysis provided to us, the ditch itself and the spoil up to the top of the spoils is exempt from this. It's only when we are having to move equipment back and forth beyond that we have.
Yeah, that,
Avoid.
it is my understanding that the work that would be within the original ditch footprint would be exempt, but yes, anything that we need to do to access or to go beyond where the original footprint would be is areas that would be, we'd be having potential takings there, and so that's where we need to potentially adjust our project limits if we need to avoid some of those areas, and we'll have to see once we get into that work where we're at with it.
So, Mr. Chair, a couple things. Is this the last or close to the last ditch that we are focusing on over the course of the last 10 or 15 years?
It is.
We have one more system after this. Would be Ramsey Washington Judicial Ditch 1. That would be the last one that would be subject for repair. And we're just getting started with a repair report on that one. So that would be coming in after this.
And Mr. Chair, because I'm very familiar with this, at one point, once you are heading towards Rice Creek, part of the ditch goes through a very low wetland area by the Greenfield Park. How do we, that I understand might be, is it public water? Is it a wetland? What's the designation of that body?
Are you talking to the south of the city road there?
Well, you get to the baseball field.
Yeah.
There's a walk bridge kind of between the baseball field and the walk bridge.
I don't believe that specific area is public waters,
Oh, good.
no.
Okay.
No. But, I mean, we still have Wetland Conservation Act requirements that we need to consider as well. And so all that stuff is navigated within our repair report. And again, when we move forward with our steps here, including a public information meeting and the repair hearing, you'll be getting more complete information on proposed repair.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, please.
I just wanted to at least make a motion, since we're kind of gotten to the discussion portion of this item
Sure.
without actually opening the item to the floor for
Great, thank you.
discussion. So I would like to move to approve the change in scope of services for ARGD 1 repair task order not to exceed 30,000, and further authorize the administrator to sign the change in scope of services.
I would second that.
Very good. Further discussion? So one question I had, Chris, do we know whether or not we're going to need WACA credits or wetland credits for this?
We're not anticipating a need for WACA credits for this.
Super.
I have a question. So, and this is really more informational for me. So the work order was originally approved in September, and now it looks like it's been determined that we need to do this T&E survey. It sounds like that came to light through a review of a database or something. So I'm just curious, why doesn't that happen with the original? Why wasn't that done as part of the original work order? Why was it so much delayed? Does it take that long to do the sort of desktop review, or did something come up that all of a sudden tipped the hat that, oh, this is something we need to do?
No, I mean, admittedly, we could have done that earlier within our process of developing our repair report. That said, there are a lot of different tasks that we need to do as we develop our repair report, including just figuring out what is the extent that we're going to be working in. And so, yeah, I mean, ideally, it would, we would have come in earlier with this ask for additional services request, but it's still, it's something that we wouldn't know about until we actually start in on our requested work order, so.
Any further questions?
So, Mr. President, yes, want a little clarification from the engineer. As you pointed out, Mr. President, thank you for that when they work within the right-of-way, it's an exemption. But we're looking outside the right-of-way, and the reason for that is
Well, there's a couple of things. One is that it isn't necessarily within the right-of-way of the system. It's within the ditch itself and any other components of the ditch. And I don't know the exact language of that. This is based on my understanding from having discussions with Jason Husfeth, because he is much more of an expert than I am on the interaction between the rare plants and how it's been applied for exemptions. But given how close we are working to the edges of the originally established footprint of the drainage system, it's possible that our work could stray from those areas, particularly given when we come into areas that have fencing. We have a number of locations that have chain link fence along the drainage system, and in those areas we may not be able to work right within the original footprint because of the presence of the fence or because of presence of other objects that are within the right-of-way. And so what we've traditionally done on other systems is we work around that, work with the landowners, communicate with them on our need to work outside of those original limits. But here in this case, if we're doing that, we may be doing a takings of rare plants along the area. And given that, there have been actually sightings right within the corridor footprint of these various species, at least 3 of them that we're aware of, we from a due diligence have to do this.
Further questions?
Well, yes. So a little more clarification there. So you're talking about the footprint of the ditch and the right-of-way. And what's the differentiation? I mean, it makes the way it sound is like if they're in the actual ditch itself, they're exempt, but if they're on the spoils pile, they're not?
Mr. President, Manager Waller, we're relying on a DNR interpretation of statute 85.0895. It does not give the degree of specificity to be able to answer your questions.
Okay.
The statute itself, the administrative rules that were adopted to implement the statute don't give that level of clarity either. It basically just says plants on land, or plants on a ditch are exempt. That's all it says. Plants on a ditch. So we look at it and we say, well, that clearly in the ditch, clearly adjacent to the ditch in the original work area, but then if we extend out of that, maybe that no longer meets how the DNR interprets that phrase, on a ditch. And right now they're telling us, proceed with caution.
Yeah, and maybe I can further on that, is that within our task order, we've, again, identified this not to exceed amount in here.
Yeah.
Certainly, we're going to try to narrow up our scope as much as possible, and hopefully we can avoid some of these costs by narrowing up the scope with which Jason has to actually look on here. But we have to have him first, look through that area and render opinion of where we are at risk with being out of compliance here, and then being able to have the engagement with DNR staff that would be administering these laws to make sure that we're not going to put ourselves in a situation where we have a takings permit, where the takings permit, the cost of which could exceed $100,000 per plant.
Yeah, I've been to that lecture. Thank you. There's one last question then about.
Go ahead.
No, please.
What my
Well,
question
I was
has to
just-
do with the plants.
Well, I'll just say this. The last few times that we've done this, we also are very careful to document both the pre and the post condition, and we've demonstrated on multiple items of work like this that our avoidance plan has worked, and we have not damaged the habitat for these plants. In fact, in 5362, they came back better than they were before we did the work. And so we are, in an iterative way, we're building a body of evidence to say, well, the next time we have to go in to do this, it's going to be much easier, because we have already demonstrated that we can successfully avoid and that we do not harm the habitat for the plants.
The fences, you said they're chain link, they go across the entire stream? under the ditch?
We don't have any that cross the ditch, but we have a number of areas where they're parallel, and including
They're close.
MnDOT right-of-way. There's part of the ditch that follows the freeway, and so we have developed some strategies of how we're going to deal with this, and part of it may be requiring long reaches that can reach over the top of the fencing. There's a couple locations where we may be having to take out and remove a fence and replace it. And so we've got some of that in our current plan as well. And it's going to be a variety of strategies to deal with this.
But the fences are, then it makes it sound like the fences are almost in the right of way to repair.
Oh,
the
yes,
alley.
they're well within the right of way, yeah.
Is it possible that you can get them set back so the next time we come through here to do this, we don't have to do it twice?
It depends on the location. Within the MnDOT right-of-way, I feel there's very little chance of that happening. I think in other locations where we're dealing with private landowners, depending on what, how it's going to impact property, we'll see what we can do. And that's where we're going to have some modification of our plan as we move forward and have discussions with the landowners. We haven't had that yet, and we're looking forward to having a landowner meeting soon.
Anything further?
No, thank you, sir.
I actually do just have
Sure,
one
go
really quick random question. Is Critical Connections the only entity that does this scope of work as far as endangered and threatened species? Just, it's not ever something that I see like an RFP for or something along those lines. So do we just automatically default to contract services with them because they're the only ones that do it, or is it just a preferred?
That's a good question. There is a list that DNR maintains of companies or individuals, I think it's all individuals actually, that are have been qualified by the DNR for this work, and it's a very small list. And of those individuals, there's only a certain few that have experience in the Anoka sand plain, and Jason is one of those few. We haven't explored relationships with other folks or to pursue other folks just simply because we've had a very strong working relationship, both Houston and Rice Creek, with Jason in the past, and we've had no issues working with them. And as far as I'm aware of, he's one of the most respected person with regard to Anoka sand plain and rare species.
Totally get it. I think for future, it would be more out of curiosity what RFPs would look like and if there's, extreme cost differentials. I'm certainly not debating the merit of what this ask is. I think Attorney Cole had mentioned we had to do the same thing along 5362 and create an endangered and threatened plant species survey. So I'm not arguing the merits of the ask. I was just curious. So
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I'll call the question, I guess, then. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Passes 5-0. We move forward. Thank you for coming today. And that takes us now to
Don't be afraid to come back if
Stream.
things don't work out, okay?
Yeah, you're welcome. Stream Health Evaluation Program, Michelle. You got that?
Yes, President Bradley, members of the board, thank you for having me. My item begins on page 42 of the packet. I am here seeking board approval of an agreement with Friends of the Mississippi River to support the Stream Health Evaluation Program, or SHEP. I was here last year talking about this. I believe we had a volunteer here to support that discussion as well, but doing it again in 2026. So the Stream Health Evaluation Program is a volunteer monitoring program. These volunteers monitor macroinvertebrates, or small insects and bugs, in streams. So they collect data. This data are valuable to us in the monitoring program. They complement our existing monitoring program where we're collecting water samples and looking for chemical pollutants, physical pollutants, things like that. What they can collect with this biological monitoring data tells us about the overall health of the ecosystems in the streams in which they're collecting the data. One of the big values of the data sets that they collect is the longevity. This is the 20th year for several of these sites. And I was looking through some of the data sets that they've collected over the years. And as it is with many data sets, just looking at a snapshot of a few years or maybe even 5 years doesn't really tell you the whole story. Really building out a long-term data set tells you about how things are changing long-term, especially with climate change coming in the future and some of the variability that that will bring. An additional value that this program brings is the outreach and engagement component of it. We actually have several members of our Citizen Advisory Committee that participate in the SHEP program, and oftentimes they start as SHEP volunteers and then come to work on the Citizen Advisory Committee. But it extends out beyond that. Actually, one of the SHEP volunteers, I believe it's Susan Young, became a Citizen Advisory Committee member, is also the Forest Lake Rotary Club president. Recently reached out to Patrick and I, and we gave a nice presentation at one of their meetings. So the program has some kind of ancillary benefits in that way. These volunteers are very dedicated. That's probably an understatement. There is a quality control aspect of this program. So the volunteers collect these aquatic insects from streams. They identify them under a microscope, but a certain subset of them is then checked by a professional. I think 10 or 20% is checked by a professional. And what they find is that the volunteers are identifying these invertebrates with 95% plus accuracy, so they do a very good job. One additional link here to a discussion that we were having recently is that, in looking at some of the data here, one of the monitoring sites is near Irondale High School. This is on Middle Rice Creek, just upstream of Long Lake. At our recent board workshop, we talked about doing some diagnostic work in that area for some potential stream bank stabilization or restoration. Monitoring data there indicate fair to poor overall health based on the invertebrate community that they collect. So that goes hand in hand with some of the restoration projects that we seek out with the district there. I'll note that the cost was anticipated and included in the improved 2026 budget, so this is not quote-unquote new money. There's a motion on page 43, but happy to answer any questions the board has.
Any questions of Matt?
I have a couple questions. How can you help me understand how Rice Creek Watershed District uses this information to make decisions? I think it's really clear this is really interesting information and informative, but how do you use it to decide, action items or whether or not you've met an objective?
Yeah, Manager Hegland, so I'll use the Irondale High School example again. The chemical and physical monitoring data that we collect can tell us about a snapshot in time of what's happening with phosphorus or what's happening with sediment. Likewise, we can collect dissolved oxygen, pH, temperature, things like that. And that might give us a sense of pollutant loading, perhaps to a downstream water body like Long Lake. Of course, we're concerned about Long Lake. But when we look at managing the resources themselves, the biological monitoring data give us a sense of the overall stream health. So it complements our monitoring program in that way and helps us prioritize where we might want to do restoration projects within these stream reaches. So that fits into the Irondale example that we have right now, knowing that this is another piece of evidence telling us that there are some problems in that area. Going back even further, before we did some of the meander restoration work, further upstream on Middle Rice Creek, we saw some of the same data telling us that there was fair to poor overall stream health in that area, and that focusing on that area for restoration would be beneficial. I think a similar story for Hardwood Creek back in the day when there was a biological TMDL and then some of the follow-up restoration work there.
And then my next question is, has Rice Creek Watershed District always supported? So you talked about how long this program has been going on. Have we been a partner since the beginning, or did we step in further along the way?
The Manager Hegland, the program actually predates my time at Rice Creek, but I'm fairly certain that Rice Creek has been the financial supporter from its inception.
And are there other financial supporters? I mean, obviously, I saw from the information in our packet that there's a contribution by the Friends of Mississippi River, but is there anybody else that's contributing to this effort?
Not to my knowledge, no. We are the two financial contributors.
Okay, and then the last question I have is, somewhere in here it talks about that this 27,000 is an increase over last year's amount, but I didn't see, or I may have missed it, what was our contribution? So what is the percent increase in this ask over what we've paid in the past?
Yes. So Manager Haglund, last year we paid 24,000. I actually looked back over the years for this item. We actually paid 24,000 back in 2009. For a time, costs dipped down to around 20,000. They came back up to 24,000 in 2025, and now this year they're at 27,000. So on just from last year to this year, that is about a 12% increase. However, if you look at this over about the past 17 years, it's actually a 12% increase. So on an annual basis, it's less than 1% increase.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to again make a motion just because we got a little out of sequence here. We didn't have a motion to open the dialogue on this one. So I'm going to move to authorize the administrator to enter into an agreement with the Friends of the Mississippi River for the Stream Health Evaluation Program for the amount not to exceed $27,000.
Second by Jim Waller.
Mr. President, Matt, I look at this and we're doing the trunk systems. By the way, I'm a supporter of this, as you know, for many years. Just to answer your question a little bit about the history of it, this was required when we started the JD2 project, which was the first ditch they really started to clean, and that was like in 2001. And that's when I discovered that JD2 was naturally polluted for lack of oxygen. Because they don't have those little critters in there, then it became impaired water because it was lack of oxygen. So this program goes on, I'd say something around 2001 or 2002, somewhere in that area is when they started that process. So you do the trunk systems, okay? And that's Hardwood Creek and Clearwater Creek and Rice Creek. Those are the big systems. And how many stations do you have on each one individually? And are they located near any of the inlets or outlets, that we'd say, for our branches on the ditches that empty into these trunk systems in the stream? You know, I'm just curious because, you know, where we're getting a more broader picture, are we just limited like 2 or 3 stations on each?
Yeah, Manager Waller, there are 9 stations total.
Okay.
2 on Hardwood Creek, 1 on Clearwater Creek, and then the remainder on Rice Creek. The location of these, now many of them are fixed in order to kind of preserve the long-term.
Correct, yeah,
We have 20 years. But to your question on, you know, do any of them, are they near the inlet of a major ditch system? For example, yes, there is one just downstream of Anoka Ramsey Judicial Ditch 1 on Middle Rice Creek. There's one there. On Hardwood Creek, there is one right as it transitions from Judicial Ditch 2 to Hardwood Creek. So yes, I can't say that they were necessarily designed to be in those locations because of the ditches, but
because Hardwood Creek and Clearwater Creek are both altered natural water courses, and so the creeks didn't go as far as what the drainage system ditch does is all. But yeah, no, that's what I was looking to see what we've got in the same places, but we haven't really added any new stations for a long time then, since they've been pretty solid where it's been.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
yes.
Any further questions? On the motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Once again, one more year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Madam Treasurer.
Yes. Get the number here. Mr. Chair, I move that we approve check register dated July 8th, 2026, in the amount of $220,571 $1,046.72, prepared by Red Path and Company. And I would just point out in the check register, the purchase of the vehicle for the $43,721.50.
Is there a second? I'll second it. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? None. Chris, we have the district engineer update and timelines. Anything you want to tell us?
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Come back and see us.
Mr. President, I don't have anything in particular to point out, but certainly can address any questions.
Any questions? All right, if not, move along to administrator updates.
Yes, President Bradley, Board of Managers, a couple of items. You'll note at the dais before you, you have what are the petitions for the Project 1301. This is what we call the Ramsey County Ditch 235 Basic Water Management Project. This is the initiation of the Jones Lake project of recent discussion. Just to note that there are two items, the first of which you'll see dated in the lower left-hand corner is the initial petition, which was the city of St. Anthony Village as well as New Brighton. And then the other one, under subsequent discussion and data, brings the city of Roseville on board. So Manager Waller had asked that those be provided to the managers, and here they are.
Yes, I did, and thank you very much.
You're welcome. Notably, we had some good discussion about Jones Lake as in that project, as well as in Oak County Ditch 102232. Staff looks forward to the board's direction when it's ready on that. Just noting that. We had discussion about a special workshop to follow up on the Jones Lake project, and we will be seeking some dates of the team, and Teresa will reach out to see what works best for all folks. Thank you, Manager Wynant. You noted the vehicle in the AP Register. I'll note that the vehicle accessories, the topper, the canoe rack, and those lighting, safety lights and such are underway, so there'll be a little bit of additional expense there. Also at your spot at the dais here, Monday's workshop included an inquiry on the budget schedule. I did modify it to show our review at the past workshops, and then notably, the board adjusted the schedule because of the Labor Day meeting. So you'll see the draft budget on August 10th workshop. August 24th meeting is the public hearing. September 1st is a time in which the board can further adjust the budget. And that's the one that resulted from the Labor Day meeting shift. And you can consider public comments at that time. And then on September 9th, we'll look to adopt the 2027 budget. And then you will have the truth in taxation in December.
So, Nick, I'd like to respond to your question about 102232. Looking at the minutes we just approved, the last sentence says, the board identified the need to bring this item to a meeting to consider whether to proceed with the alternative 4 before presenting that decision direction to municipalities and counties. I would like to suggest we have that meeting soon while this information is so fresh in our minds. Obviously, we don't want to do it at our next meeting because one of our Anoka representatives will not be able to attend that meeting. So I would suggest, if possible, that we maybe look at the first meeting in August to bring that question before us as a board.
President Bradley, staff would be happy to look at when would be most fitting. In that your August meeting has the budget on it, I feel as though it might be kind of tight, in which case a special meeting would be
Well, I don't know that we need a special meeting for it, but I'm just saying, let's get this on while it's still. fresh in
Certainly,
our minds.
certainly. Will do.
And Mr. Chair, a question about the dates. The August 24th board meeting was moved because of the Minnesota Watershed. What time of day is that public hearing?
Your regular meeting time, so it'd be 9 a.m.
Well, the 24th is the regular meeting, right?
Yes.
I'm looking here quickly.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's,
Oh, thank you.
And that's just the public meeting, it's not when we
It's not
take
truth-
action.
It's not truth and taxation, or any of that, no.
Correct. The Monday, August 24th board meeting is the public hearing, so you receive comments.
Mhm.
Then on September 9th, you certify the levy.
Yep. Okay. All
And then
right.
in December, you consider any further adjustment.
Didn't we move that meeting to the 26th?
We did not. We adjusted the workshop to September 1st because it fell on the 7th, which was Labor Day.
Okay, I'm glad you pointed that out, so. I will move that from here to there.
Okay. Staff have nothing further.
John, any updates?
nothing to confess.
Okay.
gosh.
Marcy?
Well, Mr. Chair, I would just point out that the action we took today on Anoka Ramsey County ditch number 1 followed our work in our 10-year water plan. It modified an already existing task order to revise it to include the plant survey. It was at $30,000. It was using the same engineering firm and the same consultant as the Jones Lake issue that we talked about on Monday.
And piggybacking, and of course, we've decided to modify that contract to make it tighter and set a clearer language that it's like this contract, fixed amount, so it will be even more like this one when it comes back to us, I believe.
And I hope it comes back quickly.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anything further?
Not me.
Shannon?
No update.
No, I'll only add that I think in the case of the contract that was in today's agenda, what you're attempting to do is compare apples to oranges. It's two totally different things. Specifically, in this corridor through Blaine in northern Ramsey County, I mean, endangered and threatened species have become the new norm. It is becoming add-ons to every proposal that we're seeing come through the city for development. And I think it's two entirely different things, and I just don't appreciate the comparison. The approving of today is completely and utterly separate from Jones Lake. The Jones Lake ask is to go outside the purview of what the project's intention is to simply garner approval for a DNR permit. That's my problem. It's not the need to identify endangered and threatened species. It's outside of that. It's habitat restoration, which is outside the scope of what's even in here. St. Anthony and Roseville and New Brighton didn't ask us to restore natural habitat. They said, hey, help us fix our flooding. And so I think solutions that align with the objectives that are clearly stated by the cities who petitioned is an entirely different conversation. So although I appreciate pointing out the contrast where there may be similar alignments simply due to the contractor and name and similar dollar amounts, I think they are two different circumstances.
Thank you for your comments.
You're welcome.
Mr. President, I just note that the comments about that particular contract today were similar to what we made about the Jones Lake. The questions were asked of why this wasn't in the original task order. It's not an unreasonable thing. We know from our past experience that you have to do this. And we've had, in fact, we've gotten to the point, we were so good at it, as Attorney Cole pointed out, and how we keep a record of it, it's just before and after to prove what we're doing. And the other thing about it is that, like I said, that why isn't this in the original contract and considered? And I think those questions that were asked about that today are similar about the process. So with that, if there's anything else, I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.